Good afternoon, good day, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is our second episode. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ruthabile Lengwe. I am a social worker by profession. I'm an author, speaker, blogger. I'm a mother, a sister, friend, and everything in between. I actually heard somebody introduce themselves in this way last night, so I've copied from that, everything in between. I like that. So yeah, today's our second episode, and as promised, keeping it in line with everything to do with mental health, today we're going to talk about self-compassion and the importance of being kind to ourselves. This week, running from the 18th of May until Sunday, the 24th of May, is Mental Health Awareness Week. So the spotlight has been on mental health issues, raising awareness regarding mental health issues, the struggles of those who are living with mental health disorders, and I suppose also their family members, because they are also affected in some way. And the theme that they have chosen for this year is be kind, and the whole reasoning behind it is just to stress the importance of being kind to people who are struggling, and being kind to people, like I said, who are living with some other mental health disorder. We know, and we've read or we read a lot of cases of people who are living with some other mental health disorder, who are struggling in terms of their mental health, but they will tell you that they are afraid to speak out, or they normally feel like they don't have anyone to speak to or to reach out to, because a lot of times people that don't understand mental health issues will accuse them of being attention seeking, of trying to create drama and have issues where there aren't really any issues. So yeah, the whole idea behind the theme of being kind, I think, is just to say that let's just treat each other with kindness. Let's just try to be understanding of somebody else's struggle. It doesn't have to be something that I have gone through personally. And I think just in general, because we never know what people are dealing with and what they're battling with and what they have to fight, that we just try to spread kindness all around, and just always be mindful of how we interact with others and what it is that we say in the conversations that we have with them. And having said that, obviously we know, or the way that we've been raised, I'm assuming, in a way that puts emphasis on the importance of being kind to other people, being able to show kindness towards others. And while I completely agree with this narrative, I somehow think that it's incomplete, because I think that in our teaching, or teachings from our parents and grandparents and those who came before them, they sort of missed in this lesson the importance of also being kind to ourselves. While it's highly important to be kind to other people, I think that we also need to just put the spotlight on being kind to ourselves, and this is where self-compassion comes in, the ability to treat yourself with kindness, the ability to be gentle with yourself, the ability to allow yourself the space to struggle and to grow, and to be okay not being a finished product. I've also realized that it's much easier for us to be kind towards other people, to give them comfort, to give them support when they're struggling, when they're going through things, but then we turn around and we treat ourselves harshly for the very same thing. Like, for instance, let me just give an example. Like, my friend would maybe be beating up on themselves for having made stupid mistake or a miscalculated decision, and I would probably encourage them and tell them it's a lesson learned, now you know how to do better for the next time. But if I find myself in a similar situation, having also made maybe a stupid mistake or taken a miscalculated decision, then I am more likely to beat up on myself and call myself stupid. How did you not see this? How did you not know better? How could you have allowed yourself to let something like this happen to you? So this is how we talk to ourselves. We say all of these negative things to ourselves. So our self-talk is very negative, but then we turn around and have these positive and kind conversations with others. And this is where I think we lack in terms of self-compassion, because we don't know how to say to ourselves, it's okay, Rita, it's okay that you made a mistake, it's okay that you are not perfect, it's okay that you are not a complete product, that you are a work in progress. Because as human beings, I don't think that any of us ever get to a point where we are like, I've learned everything that there is to learn about myself, and there's nothing further that I need to learn. We are always growing and we're always evolving, and obviously within that process we are going to make mistakes, and we are going to do things that we later regret because we feel like we should have known better and we should have been able to avoid certain situations. But I always say, even if for some reason you were given the opportunity to sort of go back in time, to go change certain things in your life, choices that you've made, decisions that you've made, people that you've met even, chances are you would probably choose the same again, because you would not know what you know now, which is what you have learned from the mistakes that you've made. So more than looking back and sort of having regrets about the choices that you've made and the mistakes that you've made, I think it's also acknowledging and realizing that from that you have learned lessons that you wouldn't otherwise know, And the other reason why I also wanted to speak about self-compassion today, especially in line with maintaining our mental health, is that as much as we talk about the next person being kind and the next person being supportive of other people who are struggling and going through something in their life, it's also, I think, important to stress the fact that irrespective of what we are surrounded with in terms of support, if we are not kind to ourselves and we are not treating ourselves gently, we are not able to embrace what other people give to us. I've also noticed within the line of work that I do, that a lot of people sort of tend to miss how they are able to show up even during the times that life has beaten up on them so badly that sometimes I sit across people and I listen to them tell their story, and I think to myself, how are you even sitting here today? And how are you still alive to be able to tell the story? Because they have gone through so much. And within having gone through that and sort of overcome in a way, even though they're still struggling, they fail to treat themselves with this compassion. They fail to pat themselves on the back to say, you are not where you want to be entirely, completely, but you've done very well for yourself, and look at everything that you've been able to overcome. And I think that when one is able to look back, not only focus on the negatives, but also focus on everything they have managed to do right despite their struggles, it allows their resilience to develop. And obviously that resilience is a quality that you're going to need in the future to be able to overcome other challenges that you are going to encounter. But you cannot develop that resilience if you don't show yourself compassion, if you don't acknowledge that, you have made a few bad calls, but you are not a bad person, because look at all the other ways that you've been able to show up for yourself and the other people in your life. I think self-compassion is also about acknowledging all the ways that you could have just tapped out of life and given up, but you didn't. There's so many people that continue to wake up every day against the odds, not knowing where the next meal is going to come from, not knowing how they're going to fix whatever is broken in their lives. But they wake up every day and they try their best. And best for me and best for you will not be the same, because we are not on the same level, and sometimes best is just waking up in the morning for certain people, because they're going through so much and they're struggling with so much that it's all they can manage, and even in those instances, I always say that it's important that you celebrate, or that you are able to celebrate the small stuff. And again, this is where self-compassion comes in, because if you are kind to yourself and you acknowledge those little victories that you are able to achieve, it also allows you, or it gives you the encouragement to keep going and to keep pushing and to keep trying to pursue a better life for yourself, and hoping and believing that tomorrow is going to be better than today is, and I think just in general, when we think about our mental health, it's important for us to just be able to show ourselves that kindness, to say, you are doing well. You might not be doing great, but you are doing well, just being able to wake up another day, like I said, despite the odds, to try and make things work in your favor. That is something to celebrate. And I think that being able to acknowledge that also becomes reassurance to you that you can overcome whatever it is that you are faced with. So yes, people need to be kind to each other, but we also need to be kind to ourselves. We need to be mindful of the conversations that we are having with ourselves. We need to be mindful of the conversations that we are having with ourselves. How do I talk to myself? Am I telling myself negative things? Am I thinking negative things? Am I talking to myself in a way that I would talk to a friend, to a sister, to a partner? Because in most cases, if you ask this question, then you would actually realize that the way that we often talk to ourselves is so self-defeating, that we don't talk to ourselves with the same kindness that we would talk to the next person. When we engage and interact with other people, we are always mindful of the fact that, I can't just speak to people anyhow, and I need to be kind, and I need to watch what I say, and I always need to show that kindness all around. But then when it comes to us, we forget to be mindful of the conversations that we are having in our heads. We forget to be mindful of the thoughts that we are having that are also not kind to us. And in the end, it's not other people or circumstances that we are faced with. It's not even life events that we experience that affect our mental health in a negative way, but it's actually how we interact with ourselves in those quiet moments, upon reflecting on certain things in our lives. Are we giving ourselves the platform to say that it's okay for you to make mistakes, that it's okay for you to not have it completely figured out? Because that goes a long way in maintaining your sanity, in maintaining your mental health, in knowing that it's okay not to be a perfect product, and being able to acknowledge that showing up sometimes, even when there is no hope that things will turn around, that is something that you have to be proud of, being able to dig within yourself to try one more time, face another day, despite not knowing if things would turn around and work out in your favor. But just having that courage to try every day, it's something that one should be able to acknowledge in their life, because there's nothing insignificant about showing up in the moments that life has really put us down, and we are working with our reserves in terms of the strength that we have. But when we are kind to ourselves, and when we have or practice when we have or when we practice self-compassion, then we are able to take pride in showing up even when there's no reason for us to, when we could have used the circumstances that we are faced with as an excuse not to show up for life. We should also learn to practice a little, or in some cases a whole lot of kindness towards ourselves. I think we should learn how to practice showing kindness to ourselves. And if we can do this, I believe that even in the midst of the darkest places that we find ourselves in our lives, we'll be able to find something to celebrate, find something that was a victory for us, find something that we have conquered, that lets us know that we are equipped and we have it within us to face the challenges that are in front of us. And it is also the compassion that we show to ourselves that will enable us to tap into our inherent resilience, and recognize that even though we are bruised, we haven't lost the fight. And when we realize that we haven't lost the fight, that will certainly also again go a long way in helping us to maintain our mental well-being. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it triggers something within you to just reflect and take the time out to see and assess whether you are or have been treating yourself with kindness. And if you realize that it's something that you may have missed because you were so focused on showing and treating everybody else with kindness, that you sort of miss that you need to give to yourself what you give to others. That's the other thing that I always say, that what we give to others needs to be an extension of what we have already given to ourselves. So if you've been treating others with kindness but not doing the same for yourself, then that is something that definitely needs to change. And it will be a work in progress. You take every day as it comes, but it's important that you are always mindful of having that extra blanket of compassion that you give to yourself and that you wrap yourself with, especially considering what is happening in the world right now. And that sometimes even the people that we treat with kindness forget to reciprocate and give back. So at least when you have given that to yourself, you are still able to continue and forge ahead and to maintain positive state of well-being despite what is happening around you. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you, and that you realize how important it is that we treat ourselves with compassion and that we are kind to ourselves. And please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you again in 2 weeks time. Enjoy your week.